When we look at Montreal as a whole, we see areas where certain cultural communities gather. We have Chinatown, we have Little Italy, communities for themselves. There were no Indigenous community spaces in Montreal.
And the first thing you have to learn is there are Indigenous realities. And being an Inuk in Kuujjuaq is very different from being a Mohawk in Kahnawake.
Quand on vient du Grand Nord, quand on vient des communautés, on est aussi en choc par rapport à la culture du Sud, par rapport à comment se débrouiller.
It's the ironic, Montreal's a city of 2 million people and I'm all alone. If you show up on St. Catherine Street without a game plan, it's not the best recipe. And there are all sorts of obstacles.
Dès le début des années 2000, il y a eu une grande augmentation de la population autochtone en grande précarité à Montréal et il n'y avait pas de services dédiés.
PAQ est la réponse aux besoins en termes d'hébergement pour les Premières Nations et les Inuits en situation d'itinérance à Montréal. C'est un lieu central où est-ce que ces gens-là peuvent se reconnaître.
Back in the days, PAQ was at 90 de la Gauchetière Est, so not far off from where it is today. It was not a place that was fit for a community organization.
The roof was leaking. I saw that there was one room that only had one exit. That just struck me as not being right. That started really my relationship from the government side with PAQ.
PAQ's process of moving into where it is today, we did not necessarily have a huge amount of choice. We are a homeless shelter and nobody wants that in their backyard. So I think we must have looked at 30 or 40 sites. Each time it was, no, you can't go there. You can't go there. And so at one point I asked the City of Montreal, I said, well, why don't you tell us, show us on a map, where can we go? And then we'll look in those places. I remember the man just shook his head and said, well, nowhere.
Les organisations communautaires, elles sont des solutions à des problèmes sociaux. Mais les problèmes sociaux appartiennent à tous les acteurs de la communauté. Donc ce n'est plus PAQ qui a un problème, mais c'est toute la communauté, PAQ est la solution seulement. Mais il fallait une volonté politique très grande.
I guess miracle happened. A place right across the street from PAQ suddenly was on the market.
Dans un quartier qui déjà avait un niveau d'acceptation et de tolérance à la présence de PAQ.
C'était pas évident, c'était un projet qui était complexe à développer. Il y avait toute la partie refuge, mais il y avait aussi une partie de logement de transition.
Sure, we can give people a cup of coffee and a bed for the night, but to try to expand those services to move people towards more permanent solutions was something that was very important as well. We laid out this very ambitious plan of what we're going to do and everything else like this, and then something called COVID came along.
At the beginning of COVID, the number one public health directive was stay home and isolate. But if you don't have a home, people really had nowhere to go. It was chaotic. Right at the very beginning, we had to reduce the number of beds by 50% for spacing. Every day, things were changing and staff were trying to adapt. And PAQ did not close for 1 minute throughout the entire pandemic, and that is something I'm incredibly proud of. I think COVID really shed light on the role that the community sector plays. PAQ was able to grow and evolve and innovate and develop new programs and services. In April 2020, the CEWS called me on a Tuesday morning and said, we need to open another Indigenous shelter because you're overflowing. And that second low barrier shelter has existed now on a permanent basis, even though it was set up originally very temporarily, and it's still operating now.
On parle de crise, de l'itinérance autochtone à Montréal.
Unfortunately, this problem isn't getting any better. Cohabitation is a very difficult issue, but you can't ignore it. You can't pretend it's going to go away.
PAQ is the largest community agency serving the urban Indigenous population.
Quand ils arrivent chez nous, ils arrivent avec leur bagage, ils arrivent avec leur expérience de vie. Faire valoir l'importance de leur spécificité, c'est central pour une personne qui est en recherche de solutions pour améliorer ses conditions de vie.
There's no overnight magic solution that tomorrow morning homelessness is gone, but you look at those success stories, you look at those people who were living on the street, but who've been reconnected with the health system, reconnected maybe with their family and their community through the work of the dedicated people at PAQ. So that really, really matters.